Hello, how are you? So, I thought I would do a tour of all of my watercolor things so that when we do the tutorials, you will be able to follow along with what I have. It's worked well for me. So, let's start with the watercolor palette. That's probably the most exciting. Mine's a Schminky, and it is pretty gnarly. I've had it for a very long time. It's starting to corrode. It's about time to get a new one, but I'm so attached to this one that I haven't yet. I've added to it a little flap, and the flap has color swatches of everything that I use. It also gives it a little bit of a kickstand that keeps this portion of it, when it was a little less corroded, a little more level so that you can mix on it, but I don't use it anymore because it's starting to disintegrate. But each of these correlates with the paint that's inside. I'm so used to mine, I sort of naturally know where everything goes, but when I go to refill them, it helps to know exactly what I'm using. So I use trays and refill them from tubes. I find it's the most economical. You get the most options. I use a lot of Daniel Smiths because they have the genuine colors, which I like a lot. My other favorite is this Payne's Gray Bluish, which also comes from Schminky. It's a little bit more expensive, but you know, one tray lasts forever, so you can just keep refilling them. And I will post a whole list of the colors that I use in the comments. So that is the palette. For paper, I like cold press. I also use some hot press, but most of it's a cold press paper in 5x7 and also in 2x3.5, I believe it is, the postcard or the business card size. And then I also keep one of these mats around so that I can place it on the art, because things just look nicer when they're matted. And usually I have 2 or 3 going at once, because while you're waiting for the paint to dry, you can work on one of these little concept doodles, or so you're not just spinning wheels watching paint dry. It's a good time to juggle too. That's the paper. For drawing and sketching, I use a pencil, which was right here but now is gone. So we'll talk about brushes. I use Raphael sable brushes. Most commonly, this 6 and this 2. I keep this old 2 around because it's all beat up. I just use it to scrumble. And then this guy's new for some finer detailing stuff. But I like the sable. You know, synthetic is also really great. It lays down paint really nicely. Synthetic can pull paint off the page. For that, I do have a synthetic wash brush when I'm just laying down large washes in a flat. And then I also have a sable Princeton Neptune in 6. I can actually get a pretty fine point on, but lays down a nice heavy wash as well. That's pretty much it, what I use for brushes. I've got a couple other laying around, but these are my daily drivers. And when I'm traveling, I try try to keep their little plastic piece to protect them. But sometimes I lose it, and a little cut-off piece of straw will work to protect just fine as well. And then I also have this toothbrush holder to hold them all in while they travel, so they don't bang around. Because they're kind of expensive. The sable, the Raphael sables are, I mean, they're, I don't know, maybe $35 a piece, but totally worth it when it comes to brushes. Ah, there's my pencil. I use a 4H or a 2H, a really hard, light sketch. I use Derwent because it's close to my last name. I think that's funny. And Kneaded eraser because it doesn't break up the paper. Doesn't leave a lot of traces, doesn't leave a lot of marks. For inking, I use either a series of Microns, because I'm a tattoo artist, and this is what we used for the longest time to do all of our line work. Microns, because they would go through the thermofax machine. They'd go through the machine that makes the stencils for tattoos. And then I also use a dip pen. This one I've added a layer of suede and softness to, so that when I'm writing, it doesn't hurt my hands and wrists. When I'm carrying loose ink, I carry it in one of these. This is a Nalgene container, and I have a couple of them. I got it from Midwest Mountaineering, I think. So they're a little hard to find, but I have never had one of these leak, explode, knock on wood, but I've never had a problem with one of these, and I carry ink in them as well. And carrying ink is scary, and I've never ever had a problem with the Nalgene containers, which is why I carry my water and my ink in. I also carry a dropper. This is how I wet down my palette. I think it's easier to control than just dropping water in there. So I'll use this to rehydrate the watercolors. And then I also carry this sawed-off toothbrush. I didn't need the rest of the handle, so I just removed it. When you're working and traveling with space, that's important, and that's what I'll do all the spatters and speckles with, especially if we're doing galaxy things or blood splatters. There's nothing better than a dirty old toothbrush. The other specialty item I have is this Pentel brush pen. These are amazing. They're they have refillable ones. They're just a cartridge. And it has some of the nicest brush action of any handheld brush that I've ever used. Love it. If I'm doing my inking, that's definitely up there. Something I always carry. And it all fits, mostly, in this beat-up old makeup case that I've been carrying around. I keep meaning to replace it, but it's exactly the right size for me, so why fix what isn't broken? The only thing that doesn't fit in there is this guy, but he's a relatively new addition. But the Neptune fits. So that's pretty much it. Other than the papers, it all fits in this tiny little bag. And that is my traveling kit, as well as the kit that I use every single day. My only other addition is I really love shop towels. I reuse them and reuse them and reuse them until they're dead, and then I use them to prop up other things. They're extremely durable. And those are the supplies. I will put a link to everything. All of my supplies have come from Wet Paint in St. Paul. They have an online store too. I strongly recommend checking them out. They're wonderful and will answer every single question you could ever possibly have, and sell you way too much paper, which is exactly what happens to me every time. But it's important to support those local small art stores. I will put a link to my Amazon because it's going to be the easiest way to share with you all of these supplies, and you can order them through that affiliate program if you like, but I strongly recommend hitting up